Rohan stepped out of his office building, frustrated. His boss had insulted him again. His wallet was nearly empty. And the city traffic was already giving him a headache. As he crossed the parking lot, his foot caught on something. A broom. It was lying across the pavement. And next to it, crouched low, was a thin man wearing torn slippers, faded clothes and a cap covered in sweat stains. The sweeper looked up. "Sorry, sir," he said with a weak smile and quickly pulled the broom away. Rohan didn't reply. He just glared and walked off. But something about that man's eyes, tired yet kind, stayed in his mind. He didn't know it yet. But that same man would soon risk everything to save his life. And nothing in Rohan's world would ever be the same again. The story begins. Rohan was a middle-class man trying to survive in a fast, cruel city. He worked in a private bank as an assistant manager. The pay wasn't bad. But expenses, responsibilities, and rising inflation had made life difficult. He lived alone in a small flat, barely had time to cook, and often ate from roadside stalls. His only dream was to get a promotion, move into a better apartment, and maybe, just maybe, find someone to settle down with. Every morning, he followed the same routine. Wake up. Rush. Work. Stress. Return. Sleep. And every morning, he passed by the same man, Raghu, the old municipal sweeper. Raghu swept the footpath in front of Rohan's office. His body looked tired, but his hands never stopped working. He always smiled at people, but no one ever smiled back. Except for one little girl who sold flowers nearby. She called him Baba Raghu. But no one else cared who he was. To them, he was invisible. The first sign of change. One evening, it rained heavily. Rohan was stuck inside his office. The roads were flooded. Electricity went out. His mobile battery was dead. He sighed and looked out the window. That's when he saw him. Raghu. Still sweeping. Still working. In the rain. He was clearing a blocked drain with his bare hands, so the water could pass and not flood the office building. Rohan blinked. Why was a man doing this in such rain? No one paid him. No one cared. Rohan opened the window and shouted, "Baba! Why are you doing this? Go home." Raghu looked up and simply said, "If I don't do it, tomorrow someone might slip, or fall, or get hurt. I can't let that happen." Then he continued working. That night, Rohan couldn't sleep. The twist. A week later, Rohan was walking home late. He had stayed in the office to finish a report. His stomach growled and his head throbbed. As he turned into a narrow lane near the metro station, 3 men appeared. Drunk. Angry. Armed. They demanded money. Rohan tried to run, but they caught him. One pulled out a knife. "Give us everything," he shouted. Rohan panicked. He screamed. Fought. One man raised the knife. And suddenly, a crash. A loud thud. A voice roared. "Leave him." Raghu, the sweeper, had appeared out of nowhere, swinging his broom like a weapon. He struck the attackers, shouting like a madman. One of the thugs tried to stab him, but Raghu pushed Rohan away, taking the blade to his own arm. The attackers ran. Rohan knelt beside the injured man. Why did you do this?" he cried. Raghu smiled through the blood. "Because 2 years ago, someone saved my daughter from a fire. A stranger. I never got to thank him. Maybe this is my turn to pass it on." The hospital bond. Rohan took Raghu to the hospital, paid for his stitches, bought him clean clothes, sat beside him the whole night. In the silence, he asked, "Where is your daughter now?" Raghu replied, "She died months after that fire. Smoke had damaged her lungs. But I keep working. Because she always said, 'Baba, even if no one sees you, keep doing good. One day, someone will notice.'" Rohan wept. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. The transformation. From that day on, Rohan's life began to change. He started carrying an extra lunchbox for Raghu. They spoke every day. Rohan helped Raghu get a proper ID, open a bank account, and even got the municipal office to raise his salary. In return, Raghu taught Rohan something no school ever had: dignity in small work. One day, Raghu said something that stayed with Rohan forever. "Sir, sweeping is not dirty. But judging people without knowing them is." The final test. 6 months later, tragedy struck again. Rohan's office announced major layoffs. He lost his job. He was broken. Rent was due. Savings were low. He didn't tell Raghu. But Raghu knew. The next morning, Rohan found a small envelope outside his door. Inside was a note. "You once saved my soul. Now let me save your stomach." And there was cash inside. Not much, but enough to buy food for a week. Rohan cried. That very week, he started a tea stall with Raghu. They named it Dil Se Chai. The stall grew popular. Office workers came for chai and left with stories. Because along with tea, Rohan and Raghu offered wisdom, jokes, and warmth. Together, they built not just a business, but a message. No job is small. No human is invisible. Conclusion. Years passed. Rohan now runs 3 chai cafes across the city. Raghu sits at the counter of the first one, telling kids stories about life. They are no longer just a shopkeeper and a sweeper. They are brothers. And every time someone asks Rohan how it all began, he points to an old, worn-out broom hanging on the wall. That, he says, was the first thing that ever saved me.